Hey, everybody. Today we are going to do something a little bit different. If you've been working with the Sedona method for a little while now, you may be familiar with using it to release limitations, any sense of discomfort, any sense of resistance. But it can be useful for other things as well, in addition to letting go. And so today we're going to use it to help with decision making. You may have noticed an earlier video I did where I talked about using this Sedona method for around goals, how to release any feelings of resistance around goals. And we can also use it when making decisions around whether or not to do something. And so we're going to use that looking at advantages and disadvantages. You might be familiar, with making a decision and having a piece of paper and writing the pros and cons. If I should do this, this would be a pro if I would make this decision, or here would be a con if I was going to decide on this. And so using the Sedona method with this approach can be very useful when we're trying to decide which way to go with something and what decision to make. And so we're going to try that together today. So thinking about, is there something in your life that you're trying to get clear on? Is there something that you're trying to make a decision around? And just taking a moment to just allow yourself to focus on whatever that thing is. And if you want, as we do this, if you do want a piece of paper, if that's helpful, you're welcome to do that, but it's not necessary. So thinking about this thing that you're trying to decide, what would be an advantage to doing that? And if you want, you can jot a quick note of what that is, what that advantage might be. And could you just allow yourself to focus on that advantage? And again, this is, here we are in this moment and we're thinking about something that isn't really present. And sometimes, we might think, well, if I do this, this will happen. And whatever that thing is that we think is going to happen, there might be some charge around it. There might be some real excitement. There might be some wanting there, which we're going to look at a little bit closer in a minute. But when we ask you to really notice that advantage, it's just all the energy that is connected to it, as you imagine that thing. So just allowing yourself to focus on whatever that advantage might be. And then check to see, is there any wanting connected to it? Is there any wanting control, approval, security, separation, or oneness? Just looking beneath that advantage, just seeing if there's any wanting there. And could you allow yourself to focus on that wanting? Just notice it. And as best you can, and just for now, could you release that wanting? Just could you? And could you also release any attachment to that advantage? Could you just let that go? And now check to see, is there any disadvantage from making that decision? Any apparent disadvantage? Again, we don't know what's going to happen or not, but we're just kind of feeling our way, thinking our way through this. So what disadvantage might be there? And could you just allow yourself to focus on that? You might notice your feelings around it, any sense of resistance, any sense of, I don't want that to happen, that doesn't feel good. And as you explore that, as you welcome and notice that apparent disadvantage, check to see, is there any wanting beneath it? Wanting control, approval, security, separation, or oneness? And could you just simply notice that wanting? And as best you can, and just for now, could you let that go? Could you release that? And now look to see, is there another advantage for this decision? Moving in this direction? Is there something else that feels like a positive to you? And could you just allow yourself to focus on that? Noticing that apparent advantage to this decision, this situation. And just simply welcoming that advantage. And check to see, is there any wanting beneath it? Any wanting approval? Any wanting control? Any wanting security, separation, or oneness? And as you notice that wanting, you just allow that to be here as much as it is. And as best you can, and just for now, could you also let that go? Could you? And we'll just go through this one more time on each side. Oh, before we do that, could you also let go of that disadvantage? Noticing any holding on to that, any believing that that might happen, any energy connected to that. Sometimes we think things, oh, this is a bad thing. This might this might happen. And 9 times out of 10, it doesn't. So there's all this resistance that is not necessarily needed. So could you let that disadvantage go? Again, we're just going to do it one more time on each side, noticing any other advantage to the situation. Noticing that advantage, welcoming that. And is there any wanting beneath it? Wanting control, approval, security, separation, or oneness? Then can you just simply notice and welcome that wanting, allowing it to be here just as it is. And could you let that wanting go? And could you also let go of that advantage? Any sense of wanting that, holding on to that? Can you just let that go? And now, seeing if there's any other disadvantage to the situation, anything else that you don't want to happen. And could you just simply focus on that? And is there any wanting beneath it, connected to it? Any wanting control, approval, security, separation, or oneness? And could you simply allow yourself to focus on that wanting? Just seeing what's there. Having some curiosity around it. And now could you let it go? Just for now. And could you let go of that apparent disadvantage? Any sense that that might happen, resisting? Could you just simply release that? And check to see, where you are around this decision now, seeing what shifted. If there's still more there for you, then you can just continue going back and forth, noticing any advantage and disadvantage, taking your time to welcome both sides, and then seeing if there's any wanting connected to that, and then letting it go, as well as letting go of the advantage or disadvantage. And just keep going until that feels complete for you. And this is something, in your life, if you start to incorporate this process, can really help to take the charge out of decision making and allow you to be more free as you move through life and whatever you decide to do or not to do. So I hope this helps to bring some clarity and, is another tool that you can add to your toolbox to help bring more ease and flow as you navigate through life. We'll see you again next time. Bye.